This podcast is brought to you by Power Retail and was recorded at the Retail Global Gold Coast Conference 2019.
G'day, it's Grant Arnott from Power Retail here. I'm excited to be here with Paul Nieuwenhuys, the founder of Hooked Online. So Paul, last night we had dinner and fascinating story you've had. Take us through the early days of Hooked Online and what got you there.
Hey Grant, how are you? Yeah, it was a great night last night. I started Hooked Online pretty much by accident. My brother was very successful online selling tea. Long story short, I wanted to get into the market, had absolutely no experience, bought a laptop, started purchasing some things on eBay and trying to find a category that I could get started in. This is 10 years ago. It dawned on me one day, the advice my brother gave me was to find a consumable. 10 years ago it was very hard to convince people to purchase online. So he said, a lot of effort goes into getting that first sale with the customer, and he used golf clubs as an example. Someone will buy a set of golf clubs for $1,000 odd and they won't come back to replace them for possibly 5 or 10 years.
Yep.
I had a boat hire business at Jacobswell on the Gold Coast, and one day these guys hired a boat, they came in, bought some fishing tackle, went out for the day, came back all excited, esky full of fish, and they walked straight back into the retail store and purchased some more hooks, line, sinkers, lures, etc. And I went, bang, there it is, there's a niche. It's a consumable and it's someone's hobby, so they're constantly upgrading and losing gear. I then did my research on eBay, having no web experience at all. eBay was easy to navigate. I started purchasing some small items to get an idea of how things were posted, and I found there was no brands at that time on eBay. So I ran the boat hire from a friend's bait and tackle store. So I took photos of pictures back then on a 3.2 megapixel camera. I'd done a little deal with him, as in I didn't purchase the product, I just listed it for sale. First thing I listed was a 60 pack of sinkers, and lo and behold it sold within an hour. Popped it in a prepaid Ozpost satchel, put it in the post box down the road. A couple of days later I got glowing feedback. That's where it started. And 10 years later, still happy, and now got 8,500 SKUs.
Yeah, it's very exciting. And so you were telling me last night, like you had no web experience at all, didn't even know how to use a laptop when you started, but just sort of saw that eBay particularly was offering an opportunity for entrepreneurs. And I think you also said you searched on some other items but found they were pretty crowded, and it was the epiphany with the guys buying their fishing gear off you or off the retail store at the boat hire that really triggered the search, and then you saw the gap.
Yes, yeah, and saw that there was no major brands at that time. Obviously things have changed in 10 years and I've got hundreds of competitors now. But yeah, that was the trigger. I felt comfortable, I enjoy fishing, I've lived on the water most of my life. So I had an avid interest in the products. And I knew, eBay was so good in explaining to new sellers, there was free listing templates, and you could search a product and get ideas off other sellers selling similar products.
Yep.
So back then doing my own photos, writing my own descriptions.
Yep.
And again, things have changed today because suppliers now have quality images and basic descriptions. And again, we've evolved, especially since Amazon has come onto the scene in Australia. The long-winded, exhaustive descriptions are a thing of the past. It's now bullet point, people are shopping on their phones, they're time poor. And in my category particularly, most people are replacing products, so they know what they want. We've had a race to the bottom on pricing, but now people are expecting service. They want their goods quickly. They like to see a seller that's got 99 or 100% feedback.
Yep.
And again, eBay, I didn't start my website till 4 years after being on eBay.
Yep, that's the off eBay website.
Yes.
And that's on Neato.
Yes, we're powered by Neato, which was, that was instrumental in changing our business and the way we've grown. I got onto Neato through Retail Global.
Yep.
I think this is my 7th or 8th conference.
Yep.
And this is where I pick up most of my knowledge and contacts, and fortunate enough to see lots of very experienced people here that know what's happening in the next 12 months, so to speak. So, yeah.
Very good. And so, look, you make it sound easy, like a dream run, but I know it wasn't that easy. And again, talking to you last night, there are a few challenges, particularly with supply and things like that. Talk us through the conversations you had to have to say, hey, I'm a retailer selling on eBay and I want to sell your product. Some of those conversations that you had early days.
Well, originally, as I said, I took some photos of product from a mate's store, and 6 weeks into it, the sales rep, I won't mention the particular supplier, but the sales rep turned up and said to the owner of the store, what's going on? You've purchased more stuff in the last 6 weeks than you have in 6 months. And the owner of the store, we were sitting out the front of the store and having a coffee, and the owner said, oh, it's this bloke. And the rep said, who are you? And introduced myself, and he said, oh, you can't sell our product on eBay. It's part of the trading terms that we have with all our customers. This is a brand that is not to be sold online or on eBay. And going back 10 years ago, it was very, very strict. I turned around and said, you can't stop me because I'm purchasing the product from this store. So I own the product, I can do what I want with it. He turned around to the owner of the store and said, we'll close your account. And the owner of the store was an older fella, and he said, well, I don't really care, I'll buy a product from a different account, from a different supplier. That then turned into a longer conversation, and I asked to meet the owner of this company. A meeting was arranged a couple of weeks later. I went and met the owner of the company, and he basically said, what makes you different? If I had $1 for every person that wants to sell our family branded name, 90-year history online, I wouldn't be sitting here. Luckily, they arranged a tour of the warehouse, of the facility, which was obviously a huge eye-opener. And at the end of it, had a coffee, and he said, there's something about you that I like, and I will supply you, but you need to have a retail store. Again, very fortunate, had a friend that had an empty retail store, tiny, fitted that out, put the gear in there with no real emphasis on trying to attract people to the store. It was all about getting more product at the time onto eBay. But having the retail store enabled me to open various accounts. There was probably had a 50% success rate. I'd arrange a meeting at the retail store, and most people would say no. We know of you already, and you're selling on eBay, and it's against the rules. So yeah, that was one of obviously the biggest challenge at the start. But we did the right thing, and we paid our accounts. Obviously the struggles were, I was honestly doing back then, because there was no images, I would take photos all day and list all night. So lost a lot of time with my family. I've got 3 kids. Actually, when I started, I only had 2, and a pregnant wife. I worked out of we had a 3-bay shed. I started there, I had a milk crate with a piece of plywood and a laptop on milk crates, and would sit down there because had to concentrate, had to zone into writing these descriptions, and so I spent a lot of time away from the family, and there were days where I would not even eat sometimes. It got
just got a bit obsessive.
Really obsessive, but it was so addictive. It was to list a product, there was no bigger thrill than listing a product and seeing it sell within an hour. And then obviously there was some that took days or weeks or even months to sell. But you soon learnt what people were after. So that was the most addictive thing, was getting that product on there, seeing the sales, and then seeing the sales continue. And then we started to dominate those areas. So there was lots of challenges, and I honestly did work, sometimes 20, 22 hours straight, and have a couple of hours sleep, and wake up with the mind still so active. And wife would go, you got to have breakfast. No, I'm just going to have a coffee, and I'll come up in an hour. 10 hours later, I'd have the kids down in the shed saying, Mum's got dinner on the table.
Well, it sounds like it's paid off now, Paul, and really pleased for you. It's been great to watch your journey. We've known each other for a few years now.
Yes.
Finally, turning the tables. You've been an avid learner at these conferences, but one tip for the online retailers out there listening to you and your journey.
One tip: be 100% open, honest, and transparent 110% of the time.
Fantastic. All right, well, thanks, mate. Thanks
No
for
worries.
your time. And
Thank you.
we'll talk again soon.
Awesome.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks.